Hey everybody, welcome to Rock, Paper, Hand Grenades. Oh my, it's warm in here. I'm Matt Connerton, and to my right, the man of the hour, the man with the power, too sweet to be sour, the Honorable Gary S. Hopper.
Matt, top of the evening to you.
I got a little Muhammad Ali on you there. Did you like that? Did you like that intro?
That was very good. That was.
Were you even
get
listening?
Better. I don't know. Another 10 years. That's going to be pretty awesome.
Cool. It gives me a goal.
Tonight we got the most honorable.
The most honorable.
One of my most awesomest friends, the wonderful Pam Tucker.
Yes.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. So Pam, I want to get right to this. And this is something I posted on Facebook, something I got to know.
Okay.
It says, and I quote, "He sees you when you're sleeping. He knows when you're awake. He knows if you've been bad or good." My question is, should Santa Claus be put on the sex offender watch list?
No. Santa Claus is a good man.
Wow. So far, it
So
sounds
far.
inevitable.
Absolutely
No, it sounds.
not.
It doesn't. This does not sound. It does. You know, if you go by that, anybody else would get arrested. Plus, he doesn't really have any constitutional rights.
Why doesn't he have any
He's
constitution?
from the North Pole, Pam. He's
Oh,
not
thank
American.
goodness.
Yeah.
He's not even American.
Right.
He hangs around with those elves all the time.
Listen, I'll defend Santa Claus. I like the guy. He brought me presents when I'm growing up. He's bringing my kids presents. I like the guy. He's always been good to us.
I don't know.
Been good to
Pam,
me.
I'm
I've
just
always been
saying.
a good kid.
You've clearly been bought off then.
Yeah. So if you could be bought off by Santa Claus, what's to say if gets in Congress?
Listen, someone being nice to me does not mean I'm bought off. You guys are you were nice to me. That's a
Gary doesn't accept presents from Santa, do you? Or do you?
he
I never
does.
get any.
See?
Did you get
above-
presents when you
above
were
board.
young?
Yeah, but I'm not running for office. I can get presents now from Santa. Doesn't
Well,
matter.
I didn't know when I was 12 or 10 or 5 that
Oh,
I
come
was
on.
going to run for
yeah.
office.
Yeah,
Sure.
this was inevitable. You knew it.
That's right. I came out Pam for president.
Him for president. Anyway, so you're running for Congress. Now you're doing an exploratory. Can you explain
Yeah.
to the viewers what that actually means?
Well, exploratory means I'm not running yet, and I'm actually exploring the idea of running for Congress, and it's the Congressional District 1, which Manchester is a part of.
Yep.
And it means I get to go out and talk to all of the activists and state reps and people involved in the party and ask them what their thoughts are and hear from them, what they would think if I was a candidate, what level of support it's out there, and what their issues are. It's all about them.
Right. Now, is there a legal, like, in other words, there's a certain point at which you can take in money and not take it? I don't even know. What is the deal as far as money? If you're exploring, can you still take in money?
Yes.
As a candidate?
Yes,
But
we
once you announce, you sign on the dotted line, at that point there's limits on how much money you can take? Or
Well, as in an exploratory, which I am in,
Yeah.
I can accept funds to help me because there are expenses. I mean,
Right.
driving all around.
all the way out to Manchester from the seacoast?
Have you been up to the North Country lately?
No, why?
Yeah, it's about 2 hours from my house, so it is a ways.
Oh yeah, well, because that district, what is it? Does it include?
It goes all the way up to Carroll County, and there's one town in Grafton County. One town in Grafton County.
Where's Pittsburgh? What county is that?
No, Carroll County. Pittsburgh is.
What?
Oh my gosh, that's up
way
in
up there, isn't it?
Coas.
It's
Yeah.
Coas.
That's
okay.
Coas. That's
Oh,
Congressional
Or
District
Coos,
2.
as Scott Brown
Coos
would say.
Coos.
Yes.
Yeah, Coos County.
Sullivan was to the west, wasn't it?
No, it's Sullivan's north.
North.
Yeah, north a little bit
North,
west.
it's
Because that
northwest.
includes Hopkinton, right?
Isn't Hopkinton in Merrimack
Concord.
County? Yeah, that's all. That's all
It's
Merrimack
all you,
County.
right?
No,
No.
that's all Congressional District 2. It's interesting when redistricting was done after the census. There's 4 towns in Hillsborough County which are part of Congressional District 1,
Okay.
and one of them is Manchester. There's Goffstown, there's Bedford, and there's
Yeah,
Merrimack.
but Goffstown and Manchester have always been in that district.
Yes.
Because I remember when Jeb Bradley was running for Congress, it was when I was a legislator representing Goffstown and Ware, and sitting down and reading him the Riot Act on the Second Amendment when he's just first running, which is awesome because I don't have to do that with you.
No, you
You
don't.
already get it.
I have
You
a
didn't-
voting
you didn't
record.
need a- you don't need a talking to.
No, I don't.
That's good.
I've been browbeat in the legislature by him.
Right.
Pam, you will vote this way.
No, because that's actually one of the things I want to do in all seriousness is when I have candidates on, I want them to explain why they believe in something, not because when you get to, as you know, when you get to Washington, there's certain variables that you're going to hear. Like sometimes a bill looks really simple on the 6 o'clock news.
Yes.
But when you're actually there, you actually know the details. So how you vote plus or minus on a certain bill is really less relevant to me because I don't know what the details are. I'm expecting you to as a congresswoman. But why you would vote tells me that, for instance, on the Second Amendment, why you're voting for the Second Amendment tells me that no matter what she does, it's going to be pro-Second Amendment. I don't have to worry about it. I don't care what Channel 9 says about your vote and how it's anti, safety or whatever. So why do you believe in the Second Amendment? What is the purpose of the Second Amendment?
Well, you can kind of read it yourself. It's keeping
No,
being
I can't. I'm illiterate.
Yeah, Gary.
What
Yeah, he's a little sensitive about
we
it.
have a right to protect ourselves, and I truly believe that as well. And if you take away our right to protect ourselves, who's going to protect us? Only the government will have guns, and we see what's happening in other countries when the citizens are disarmed. I mean, the bad guys are coming after them now with knives and machetes. They'll find a way. With
Right.
the homemade bombs. I mean, I have a right to defend my property. Calling 911 or the police when the guy's in my house is not going
Yeah.
to save me.
I'm particularly fond of that expression. I think I heard it from you the first time when seconds count, the police are minutes away.
Yeah.
No,
It's
I
very
never
true.
said that.
That wasn't you?
No.
Oh.
However, if
Should've
you
taken credit
own,
for
I
it.
truly, I'm a big advocate of this.
Shouldn't take credit for
What
it.
kind of
Guys.
politician are you?
I know, right? Work on that.
Jeez.
Sorry.
But if you do own a gun, you better know how to use it. You better be trained properly and have the experience. The last thing we need is people who don't know how to use it. It's like having someone get behind a car who doesn't know how to drive, or get behind a semi who doesn't know how to
She's
properly drive
picking
it.
really tooling on me tonight.
I know,
First it was a
right?
reading, now it's my driving.
Yeah,
Can
you
fix
can't
your
drive
collar, too?
a
You got
big
the
rig,
one
can
going
you?
up
Matter
there.
with it?
You got the little thing flying up there on that. Yeah, see it, feel it. There you go.
Oh, there
That's
you go.
better.
That's better. Yeah.
That's much better.
Thanks, Pam.
Thank you. I was very. It's I want you to be perfect.
I am perfect.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Well, I don't know. I could look at it like maybe I'm not perfect.
Well, that's not nice.
Yeah.
Now
Well,
you
thank
see. I
for-
just said now you're perfect again.
That's like if you tell your wife, wow, you look pretty tonight. What do you mean? I didn't look pretty last night?
I know it's a double-edged sword
It is.
sometimes.
It is. You can't win.
That's why I've never been married. It sounds like an endless
It
sequence
is
of
if-
no-win situations.
Correct. Yeah, you
It's
lose.
worth it.
Okay.
It's worth it.
Take your word
Yeah,
for
from
it.
a female
Yes.
point of view, it probably is.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah. They're not the ones that
I
take
mean,
out
I know
the
my
trash.
wife's pretty freaking
Oh,
lucky.
really?
I'm sorry. What?
What?
About taking out the trash?
I didn't say anything. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm sorry. You're hearing voices or something.
Excellent,
Jeez.
excellent.
It might have taken
So-
me a year to find the local transfer station, but I know where it is.
Okay.
And I know the guys down there.
Well, you're ahead of me then.
There was it was actually really cool. I listened to a biography, I guess, of George Orwell, and I think he was kind of upper middle class, but he didn't identify with them. He identified with the little guy, and some of his earliest work was when he was. First he went to India. As a young man, he decided to basically enlist, and he went in and he was a soldier in India. And it just blew him away the way the English would treat the Indian citizens. And he was aghast by it. He specifically remembers walking towards the gallows with an Indian man, and the picture he drew in your mind was he's walking towards the gallows with a soldier, and he was one of the soldiers on either side, and there's a puddle in the road, and the guy avoids the puddle just before he is hung, which is such an odd thing, and that's when it hit him that this person is as much human as I am, and yet we're going to take his life away for almost nothing because they're in charge. So he had a very low opinion of his imperialist government. And then he went to, this is going to take too long, so I'll get to the point. So anyway, he did not have a very good, he was kind of identified with the middle class, if not blue collar, working people. Those are the people he really identified with. And again, like I said, he had a pretty low opinion of his own government until World War II. During World War II, when it became very probable that the Germans were actually going to invade the country, the English government gave out firearms to the general public. And Orwell was one of the people that was like, helping organize. He was a community organizer. Helped organize these basically militia groups around town. And he said it was at that point that he gained a lot of respect for England, because his country was able to trust its own citizens with firearms. It was so secure in its position that it trusted the citizens with firearms. I mean, that's a very telling thing. That's if you can't trust the citizens with firearms, maybe you're the one who can't be trusted.
Right.
Well, you think about the State House, and if you remember a couple years ago, we had that huge debate about whether or not we could, as representatives, carry in the State House, and they said no firearms. And a lot of guys in there are packing.
Really?
Do you ever take your jacket off when we allow you to? Oh, you're one of them packing. And that's responsible citizens. There's absolutely no problem with them. Absolutely none.
Yeah, I mean that thing in California. California has some of the strictest laws in the entire country, and the answer from Obama the other day is more gun laws.
Yeah. No, it's so sad. I feel
It is
so bad for
wicked
those
sad.
families.
20-something people shot, 14
gosh.
dead. All it would have taken was one or two people to have a firearm, and at least it would have slowed down the carnage.
Right.
It's
It's insane.
Yeah, when things like that happen, you personalize and you say, "Oh my gosh, what if that was us?" type thing, and then you want to take action and make sure it doesn't happen to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I just thoroughly believe that fundamentally the ultimate power has to stay in the hands of the people. If the government has all the guns, it has all the power, and we become its subjects. It doesn't matter really how many shootings there are around the country, because ultimately it's more important that the government doesn't take away all the guns, because then some moron like in California might kill 14 people, but the government kills by the millions.
Yeah. Well, and it's more than just guns when you think about that. As we give away our rights to the federal government, then they're the ones who have that power over us. So why would we give away any rights? And I think that's one of the reasons I live here in New Hampshire, is the whole live free or die thing. We're the only state in the union that doesn't compel you to buckle your seatbelt. But as citizens, we know what's right, and we have the same rate of buckling up that other states do.
Oh, we do?
Yeah, it's right in that same range of other states.
Oh, I didn't know
I
that.
buckle up. Don't you buckle up?
No, I don't.
Gary doesn't even wear a helmet, do you, when you ride your motorcycle?
And that's your choice. If you don't want to put a brain
That's
bucket
not
on,
my
that's
fault,
your
though.
choice.
It's not my fault. That's because I get brain damage. So I'm not thinking right.
But you didn't get it from not wearing a helmet, did you?
No.
I don't know anymore.
Right, you probably
I
don't
keep
remember.
getting accidents.
But it's your choice. Now, if I were to ride a motorcycle, I would most likely wear a helmet, but I don't ride motorcycles.
What about tomorrow?
No, I'm good. It's kind of cold outside.
Sissy. And so, anyway,
Sissy.
did I say
Did
that
you
out
just
loud?
call
Yes,
me a
you
sissy?
did.
I
Yes,
didn't mean it.
yes.
I didn't mean that the way which it was intended. So the other
We could go off on this, but we'll let him off the hook now, won't we?
Sure. He'll put himself on another hook. He always does.
Yeah, don't worry. There's another one coming pretty quick. So, Sir Donald of Trump got in a big bunch of trouble because he said, and that he believes that before we allow any more immigration to take place, we should stop all immigration by people who are of the Muslim faith. Right? I believe that's
That is what he
Pretty-
said. Yes.
From Muslim countries.
or Muslim faith from whatever.
Muslims in general. Yes.
What is
It's
what
just,
is-
it's
what?
coming down, yeah.
I know. I gotta get it ironed.
Maybe
or
you gotta
something.
like flip it or something.
You bring any?
Anyhow.
You gonna bring any duct tape?
No, not
Maybe
this
some
time.
glue. You got any glue?
Yeah, here, let me go rummage through my bag. So anyway, back to
Yes.
Donald Trump.
And so, what's your stand on that?
Well, in terms of the whole immigration, he could probably, he could say to do that, but people who want to get into this country, terrorists who want to get into this country, what's stopping them from being from another country or coming up through the southern border that we
Okay,
have?
yeah, I agree with that. But what specifically do you agree with his statement that we should stop allowing immigration from the Muslim countries until we have some sort of vetting process that's effective?
I think in terms of immigration as a whole, not just from Muslim countries, needs to be stepped up. Because you're terrorists.
Stepped up like better.
Like better.
Oh
My gosh, we don't know who's we don't do the proper vetting for these people coming across our coming into our country, not just across our borders. We need to step up the process, the vetting process, to understand who these people are, the background checks before we just let people come in. I know.
Well, I mean, it takes 18 months as it is, and I think they did just pass something to make it even more intensive than it already is.
I think
as
it
far
passed
as refugees
the House.
and such.
That doesn't mean Obama signed it.
I think he said he would though.
Yeah.
I think he will, because I think he mentioned that in his address the other night. Although I'm not sure, or it might have been in something the next day. But I mean, as it is, I mean, it's a pretty intensive process. But what about what Trump said about stopping Muslim immigration entirely? Personally, I think it's madness.
What?
I think if we say people of a specific religion, we're just going to not let them in at all. That to me is so un-American.
Well, how do,
Wait,
how,
wait,
how do you
wait,
figure
wait.
that out? How do you figure? What do? You ask them at the border, "Are you Muslim?" And what if they say, "No, I'm not," and they walk in? I mean, there's
well,
no
there
way
shouldn't
to
be a
figure that
religious
out.
test.
Well, exactly. There should be a test overall as to who the person is who's coming in, and not just on that factor alone. We
Okay, so-
really
so
need to
you-
step up.
So you disagree with Trump then, in terms of just cut off all Muslims from coming into
I
the
would
country?
say what we need to do is screen everybody that's coming into this country, not just one particular religious group, if you will.
Okay, but so you're not. But just to
wait,
be clear,
you don't fall into the category that thinks it's unconstitutional.
Um,
Because I've been hearing pundits say that all last few days, and that's insane.
I would have to look at that specifically.
Because-
I just think it's un-American and
okay,
creepy.
okay, right, okay. Un-American and creepy. We can agree to disagree. But as far as constitutionality, somebody coming into this country has no constitutional rights.
Right, if they're not an American
They're
citizen.
not
right.
Americans.
No, I agree
That's
with
why
that.
Santa Claus
Yeah.
doesn't have constitutional rights. You have to use the Santa Claus.
The Santa,
The Santa Claus
Santa-
factor,
the Santa
yes.
factor.
I can actually imagine Trump saying something like that, to be
The Santa
honest.
factor.
That Santa
Yes.
can't come into our country.
No.
Does
I
he have a
just-
visa?
That would make him a Scrooge. If
I don't
Trump
know.
did that.
Passport.
I don't know that he has a visa. Nobody's checked.
Yeah, I don't know. And, how does he just get to fly around unregulated?
He's breaking into. Well, not breaking in. He's going to people's homes.
yeah.
But he's welcome there, so he's not being in.
Right. It's not. Well, he's not breaking in it. He's still
Right.
entering.
He's still in, but he's a guest because people are
Is
waiting
he?
for him. Yes.
Does he enter Muslim
Has
homes?
anyone said that they don't want Santa to
That's a
come?
good question.
No. I
Well, he's-
don't know.
he
How
might
does he
not
know?
be- he might
Does
not-
he do a test? Does he
Because he
check?
sees you when you're sleeping.
Right.
He sees you when you're awake. He knows. He knows.
That's creepy. That's
He
Pam.
knows.
Pam. What other issues are there?
Relative. There's a lot of issues.
No, broad question. Pam, do you happen to know what other issues there
Yeah,
are?
No, there's
I
none.
know there's a bunch of questions
The world
I'm
is
supposed
safe.
to
The
ask you. I have
economy
no
is
clue.
the economy's booming. The world is safe. Everyone's employed.
Everybody
Life
loves
is good.
I have a question. What motivated you to want to do this, to explore running for the Senate? Because you'd be challenging Ginta, of
Congress,
course.
Congress.
Or Congress,
For
rather. I'm
Congress.
sorry, I misspoke. Congress.
That's okay.
But you'd be challenging Ginta,
Yeah,
correct?
potentially.
So why now? Because we've actually, and part of why I'm wondering this is I think we've said, Gary and I have both said to you, maybe on air, maybe off air, that in the past, why don't you run? Why don't you seek higher office? And you didn't
No,
seem
it
like
wasn't
you wanted
the
to
time.
at the time. But what changed?
No, it wasn't. The timing wasn't there. I was very content with where I was.
Yeah.
But when I look at the country as a whole, and if you're like me, you're one of 65% of Americans who think the country is headed in the wrong direction. And I think about that, and I think about my kids and what I'm leaving them versus what my parents left me. You know, the American dream, part of it is that we will leave the world and our kids will live better than we've lived. And you know what? Every generation has pretty much kind of lived up to that for the past few generations.
Not this one.
I don't see that with my kids. I think it kind of stopped with you and me. I'm guessing we're right around close.
That was a good place for it to stop, I think.
And,
but I'm selfish.
and
I don't
Gary
have
too.
children.
Gary's in there too.
Right?
Thanks.
Because he's so young.
Yes,
And-
yes.
Wow.
And
This
That-
is
that
wisdom
wicked hurt.
on top of his head.
Yeah,
That's all that
that's
is.
teenage daughter is what
Yeah.
that is.
so I don't see the country moving in the right direction. And as you know, on the state level, we've tried to turn around the direction by keeping the budget low and not continuing to increase fees and taxes on our citizens. And it's no mistake, and it isn't an accident, that in New Hampshire, there is no income or sales tax.
It's
That is
hard
intentional.
work.
It's
Yeah.
exactly. It's very hard work to keep our state government in line so we don't continually overspend to the point that we have to institute any type of broad-based tax. Washington needs to operate a little bit more like New Hampshire
Yeah.
in terms
Yeah.
of you only spend what you have. And that's what we did with the state budget. And you know
Wasn't
what?
that what Carly
That's-
was saying? Was what do they call that budgeting? Zero-based or something?
Hers is zero-based budgeting.
Yeah.
There's priority-based budgeting, which you really should prioritize what's the most important thing government should do.
Right.
It's things like that, that if you have $100 coming in, you don't spend more than $100. And right now, we've got, what, $20 trillion that we're leaving our children? Money they didn't spend, that's their credit card that they have to pay off, and they didn't get much of a benefit out of it.
Right.
Right.
So
right.
we can't continue to do that. We've got to stop the spending. We've got to bring we've got to bring the government under control. And I think what we've done here in New Hampshire, that can be translated up to there. And of course, I'm one of 435, which is down here, one of 400 up at the State House. It can be done.
Yep.
You do it through coalitions with working with people.
Right.
And I really do think it can be done. We just can't continue to have business as usual up in D.C. We just can't.
Have you been there to know how difficult or not difficult that will be to actually get done? Paul Ryan theoretically was a strong advocate of tight budgets, and now he's speaker. So I don't know if that's
Well, he's in the honeymoon period right now,
Right,
being
yeah.
speaker. And I tell you what, we give him a couple months and see what goes. I have confidence, and I'm an optimist, and I believe that he's going to help change the direction of our country.
He seems like a practical, pragmatic guy in
Yeah.
the sense that he doesn't want, because some of the Republicans in Congress and the Senate, as you know, they push for let's force a government shutdown to get what we want, whether it's defunding Planned Parenthood or whatnot. And Paul Ryan is one of the people who says no, we need to avoid that because while it can be effective in some ways, it costs the economy trillions of dollars every time it happens. So to see an adult in the room like Paul Ryan say, no, we can't be shutting down the government, that's crazy, is, to me, it's kind of a relief,
Well, I see that, and I would say it wouldn't have been the Republicans, as they're always saying, the ones who would shut down the government. They are the ones who passed the budget. If it was anyone, it would have been President Obama who vetoed the budget. Very similar to what happened up at the State House this past summer. The House and the Senate passed a budget,
and then the governor vetoed
and
it.
the governor vetoed
What
it.
we did, which was actually I think pretty clever, is we had a continuing resolution.
Yes.
How do we do that? So that basically the state continued funding at its current level with no raises, basically, until we
Until we overrode that exact same budget that she vetoed.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
So I was against it before I was for it type situation.
Yes. Yeah.
Ooh, I wouldn't
yeah,
repeat that a whole lot.
yeah.
That confuses
wasn't
the hell
me.
out of people. Just ask John Kerry.
Yeah, that's why I was saying it, tongue in cheek there.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
saying that Maggie was before.
Oh,
Come
yes.
on,
Okay.
keep up. Bud.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
What else?
So that is one of the reasons I'm running. It's basically for my kids, because I believe we can make a better United States out there for my kids and your grandkids, and you're not married, so you don't have any children.
I have no children. I've chosen not to reproduce.
It's a choice.
The Connerton line will die with me.
Really?
Yes. No, probably not.
Oh,
I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to ever have any children, but
that's actually happening a lot.
yeah, the
I
birth
know-
rate's dropping.
Yes,
I
it
know.
is, and we do need immigration. There's no question about it.
Oh yeah, I know. Actually, we are actually quite blessed. Most people don't know that, but we are actually very blessed because the immigration we have coming in is actually predominantly Catholic, which is not really that is culturally is not different than what's already here. Whereas if you look at what's going on in Europe right now, it's an invasion, and the culture is completely different. You know what I mean? And they're gonna. I forget whether I can't remember. It was like Norway is supposed to be completely Muslim in 15 years. I think it was Norway.
Really?
Yeah,
I hadn't heard that.
it could be a Muslim majority country in like 15 years. I mean, that's huge.
Well, I've been saying for years, the undocumented immigrants coming up through Mexico, most of them, they tend to be Christians. They tend to be somewhat socially conservative. And I think there's a real opportunity for the Republican Party to reach out to those people and not alienate them so much.
I don't think it should be. Yeah, I agree. I don't think it should be illegal immigration, but I think we should step up the quantity of immigration if people are, especially because they come from strong families, which is actually a huge deal. So you got basically
That's
Christian people with strong family values coming into the country. That's a good thing. That's a healthy thing for the country.
Well, anyone with strong family values is good for the country, regardless of their religion.
No, I agree.
Not necessarily. I think Hitler had strong family values. He really loved it.
He's an anomaly.
I don't know much about
bad.
his family.
Yeah. No. Actually, the Bible talks about that. It said
Talks about Hitler?
No, not Hitler. It says even an evil man loves his family.
No, that's probably true.
So there. I think I got you on that one.
You did.
Yeah. So what other reasons? How is that looking? You've been going around the state so far. How's that looking as far as support and things are going?
It's going very well.
It's going very well.
It is. I'm running around to all of the counties and the county meetings and meeting with activists, and it's great to be able to hear what's on their minds. And obviously the security issue that we already spoke about is huge, and it continues to be on everyone's mind with all these incidences that are happening. So that's a big issue. Obviously the economy and jobs.
Right.
Our economy is stagnant. We know that, and we've got to fix that, because that goes back to my kids and your kids and everyone's kids. That with a stagnant economy, there's not a lot of great paying jobs when these kids get out of college.
There's hardly any blue collar work. When you and I were well, you were obviously a lot younger, but when I was
Did you just take off shoes?
No, when I was learning a trade, I was learning to be a tool maker. There was so much work out there. I mean, I remember when I was, I don't know, about 30-something, I was at a diner and I met these two guys. I said, what are you guys up to? He says, oh, we're out of work. What do you do? He says, well, we're machinists. I didn't say anything because they're out of work. I don't want to start trouble in a diner. But, man, there is no way, there's not a snowball chance in hell that you could be possibly out of work if you were a machinist back in the 80s. It just didn't happen. There was so much work that you couldn't be without work. But now there's no blue-collar jobs. And that's where the actual economic engine of the country really always has been, is the middle class. We don't have it. We've shipped all those jobs out to China and India.
Yeah, I remember in the 90s, I think that's when we first really started hearing about transitioning
And
to
it
a
was
service
both
economy.
parties.
Absolutely.
It was Clinton, it was Bush
Yep.
Sr. talking about we're going to go to a service economy.
Yep.
And at the time, I said, really? A service economy? How many shoe shine boys do you need?
Right.
Well, but it has with all of the high tech jobs and the like. I mean, think of all the jobs we have now in high tech that we didn't have 20 years ago.
Yeah, but most of those are going overseas too.
There's
A lot of the tech jobs are being done in India.
There's a lot of innovation here still. We still are the kings of innovation.
Yes,
and
I
queens.
agree. I agree with that. But the middle class jobs, the machinists, the I don't know what else. Is there any other job?
Well,
besides
I
that?
think it's just machinists.
just
yeah.
machinists.
Well, it's any of those jobs. Growing up, my father owned a small repair shop.
Right.
So yeah, and that's one of those tech jobs, and we do need more of those tech jobs. I don't know any plumber out there who's starving.
Right.
No.
Do you ever call your plumber? You're afraid to call your plumber because you know what the bill's going to be.
Right.
But thank God for them. But we do need more of them.
But see, those are one of the few blue-collar jobs that can't be exported. Because you can't, like, ship your plumbing to China, have them fix it, and then send it back. If they could, that'd be a good idea.
That'd be wild, yeah.
That'd be actually a good idea. I just invented something.
Yeah,
Do you think
Portable
Chinese
plumbing.
do Chinese plumbers pull their pants up all the way? Do you think?
No.
Probably
No.
not.
It's part of the. It's part of the.
Part of the trade.
Part of the trade.
Yeah, that's understandable.
do they teach that in plumber school?
Yeah.
Plumber's pants?
Yeah, plumber pants.
Yes, that's why they call them.
That's like
that.
101. It's like a beginning of your plumbing.
Right. If you don't have the right uniform, you can't
Yeah,
do the job.
exactly.
Clearly. Yeah.
You got to dress for success.
Yes.
Well, anyway, my father was he was a mechanic, and so I understand about having to trade. And he taught my brother the same thing. And my brother ended up eventually working down at the tech center because they needed people like that to test parts and things like that. The GM Tech Center, which
Yep.
has now been renamed a different name, but yeah. So those jobs will always be needed here until they ship the tech centers over there and everything else.
But I know that a lot, like for instance, one of the trades I was in was mold making. And mold making is very labor intensive because it's a lot of hands-on fitting and things like that. And I don't know, somewhere in the 90s and after 2000, many of those jobs went to China because of the labor costs were just too high here, so they shipped them over there. And I just think it's incredibly short-sighted. But so what other things are people talking about when you travel around this great or half of the great state?
Has anything surprised you?
No,
No?
it's pretty much the same issues that you're hearing on the national level, and it's pretty open, and everyone's talking about it now because of our first in the nation status. Most of the chatter is about the presidential candidates and who you're supporting, that type of things.
And you're not even supporting anybody yet.
I'm not.
You're not.
I'm not. I'm going to stay neutral this time. How about you?
Still haven't decided.
Yeah. How about you, Matt?
I've endorsed Libertarian candidate Darrell W. Perry
Oh, good.
What?
because
Who's that?
he's a libertarian.
Over Rand Paul?
Rand Paul's no libertarian. Sort of tries to be a little bit. in
He's
some
not
ways.
his father, I'll tell you that.
That's for sure. That apple did fall pretty far from the tree.
Yeah. I think he tried to be more political so he could be more successful.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
And then lost the heart of it.
But he still has the appeal to the younger people. My daughter, who will be 18 and voting in the primary, likes
Is that
him.
your youngest?
That's my oldest.
Your oldest. What's the
Yes.
youngest one?
12.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Because that was one reason, probably 2 or 4 years ago, we asked you if you were thinking of running for Congress, and back then they were pretty little, so that's one reason you didn't want to run, is they were pretty tiny.
Yeah.
So 12 is good.
12 is fine. And if you look at it, Kelly Ayotte's kids are both younger than mine.
Right.
And she's down as a U.S. Senator for the past 5 years. So it's doable, without
yeah.
a doubt. That you can do it with a family.
Yeah, but I was just wondering about that because I know that was one of your reasons you didn't want to do it.
Yes, and my oldest will be in college.
Huh.
If I was to run and get elected, she'll be in college next spring or next fall, and then
Yeah.
my middleist, as I call her,
Middleist?
my
Yeah.
middleist will be 16, and you know what happens at 16? Choof, they're gone because they get
gone,
that
yeah,
license and
exactly.
they're gone. So hopefully she'll help to drive around my 13-year-old at the time.
Yeah.
So if you're in D.C., you don't have to cringe every time she grabs the car keys because you won't see
I
it.
won't say that.
You won't see it. That's good.
Yes.
Because
yes.
that's petrifying.
Yeah.
You can just
You know?
imagine the worst instead.
Absolutely.
Well, it's not that bad. I raised my daughters to be very responsible. My
Good.
my
Right,
oldest
right.
got her license and her car.
It's awful defensive.
She is, I know.
Right? I don't know.
It's
I'm
like she's
just
already
saying.
running.
I know.
The other, she's just exploring.
I know.
But she's been very responsible.
Yeah. Okay. Sure.
She has
And-
been. And she did. You know, she made
I'm
her
not
curfews.
saying she's not. I'm not. Damn.
She wouldn't drive it if it was too snowy out because she gets her license in the wintertime. She's a December baby.
Yeah. Now, what's the blanked right out? That was really good.
You can always go
Oh,
back
what do
to
you-
Santa Claus.
Let's go back to Santa Claus. What's your take on one of the things we've been covering a lot is the opium problem.
That's a huge problem here
Right.
in all of New Hampshire, not just in
yeah.
Manchester.
Right.
And we definitely need to address it. But the last thing we need to do is we know the way we've been addressing it is not working.
Correct.
We see that. I mean, we've
Yeah.
been trying to use the same solution, a cookie cutter approach across the board, and it's not working. And it's gotten worse, and we know that. What we need is to be able to try innovative ways to fix the problem.
Aren't we a step closer to having a drug court? Didn't I hear something about drug court?
They're trying to. That was part of the. It was hard to keep track, but I went
Yeah.
to the drug task force last week, and that was very discouraging.
Really?
That was very discouraging because it was first they had our Holly and Melissa Cruz
Yeah.
were up there, and these people are running Hope for Recovery. I think I told you I'd offer you to introduce you to them, and they basically called them up to speak before this committee, and I could tell, with the exception of Claire Roulard, it seemed like nobody even understood the issue. You had a whole bunch of people in a room, legislators, that didn't have a clue. And the questions were almost ridiculous. And I just felt bad for Holly and Melissa because they're up there and they're taking time from something they're actually doing. They're actually doing good work.
Right.
And you got these guys up there calling them up. And one of the things that are going to come out of that is a commission or a committee and we've had enough committees.
Right.
Yes.
We've
Yeah.
met enough.
Yeah.
We know what the solutions are, but they're all sucking up the Sanborn, who's got some.
I know in business they call that analysis paralysis.
Yeah,
where you
now
just-
we got analysis paralysis
Yeah.
going on, and it was pretty bad.
Yeah.
But there are actual legitimate solutions to the problem, but they just want to study it more.
Well, we don't need to do that. What we need to do is where the problems is let these local policemen and police groups figure out what works best for their community. Because what works best here in Manchester might not be the best thing that works in Kingston or up in Coos County. It might be something different.
Yeah.
And drug courts is one way. The Gloucester model of not arresting them. Gloucester.
It's not Gloucester. It's Gloucester.
Gloucester.
I used to live in Rockport.
Gloucester.
So.
But we have to
Gloucester.
Gloucester. Okay.
Gloucester. But we have to be careful that they equally apply the law too.
Right.
Right.
And just because one walks into a station with drugs on them, they don't get arrested, and one guy in their car does because he didn't walk in the station. That's unequal application of the law. So we have to be careful and think about those things. But any funding that we're going to put towards this, let's try new ways. The old ways aren't working, and people are dying.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
we know it.
Absolutely. By the way, our producer Steve messaged me, and he is endorsing Ted Nugent for president.
Ted Nugent.
Ted Nugent.
Nugent.
I didn't know Ted Nugent was running.
I didn't either. Personally, I can't vote for someone who would write lyrics like "Wang Dang Sweet Poontang" or whatever. But that's just me. I can't support
Can you
that. I'm
even
sorry.
say that on television?
I did. I don't know if I said it correctly.
Let's
That
hope
was the
Something like
lyrics
that.
to
Did I
a
get that right,
song.
Steve?
Yeah, but there's a
Therefore-
lot of
says
lyrics
yes.
to a lot of songs you can't say on TV.
Oh, I don't know.
Well, then they probably just bleeped him out.
I hope so.
I don't know. I don't think that's one of the 7 dirty words.
It isn't?
No. I hope not.
I'm trying to get my grandkids to come on. No,
Yeah, exactly.
trying
We'll
to get
find
my
out.
grandkids to
When
come
you guys
on
get slapped with a fine, you'll know.
again.
Again, yeah.
I want to get my grandkid to come on. I tried to talk him into this, Damon.
Yeah.
Into coming on and singing that song, "Don't Shoot Me, Santa Claus."
I haven't
I
heard it.
love that song.
I still haven't heard that either, but I remember
Don't
you
you
talking about it last
Santa
year.
Claus.
Last year, I remember that you were trying to get him to sing it on the air. And
No, that was Rudolph the Red-Gun Cowboy.
really?
Yeah.
I thought okay.
There's another one.
Wow,
Classics.
this is
These
some
are-
violent
I tell you
Christmas
what,
songs.
these must be really old classics because I've never heard of them. Have you?
No,
Yeah.
no wonder
Oh.
people are weird about Santa breaking into their homes.
Yeah, with songs like that, my
it's-
goodness.
Oh, yeah.
Rudolph has a gun?
Yeah, armed robbery, or in reverse. Yeah.
Exactly. Gosh, I screwed it up again. It's a question I keep wanting to ask you, then it disappears out of my brain. I should write things down.
Or maybe you can figure out a way to hold them into your brain. Like, what if you put tape on your brain or something?
No, my brain's like a steel sieve.
Really?
Yeah. In and out,
Goodness,
in
a
and out,
steel
nothing.
sieve.
Yeah.
That's-
Like a steel trap.
You got a heavy
it's like
head.
a steel trap. Yeah,
Right.
It is
Wow.
very heavy. It's
My
Irish.
God, how do you even hold it? I know, I'm Irish and I have a big head too.
Yeah.
Irish people have big heads.
Big, thick skulls. Not much in between, but a lot of thickness, skull
Yeah.
thickness.
Yeah. Which is good.
It is good.
So we get hit in the head and it doesn't hurt.
Doesn't hurt at all. Can't even tell.
Nope.
Don't even.
I hear something rattling, but that's
That's it.
And then I'm good to go.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, cripe. What the heck was it?
Can you say cripe?
Yeah, I can. I
I want to
did.
bring that word back. That's a great word. I
It
wish
is a
more
good
people
word.
said it.
It is. It's
And you
something-
can emphasize it by making it plural and say cripes, and then it's like
Right.
even more.
Or cripes.
I've never
Cripes?
heard cripes before. I've
Cripes,
crepes.
yeah.
I like crepes.
No,
Yeah.
not crepes.
No,
No, I don't like crepes either.
too.
Give me a real pancake.
Oh no, crepes are good.
Oh no, they're just like paper thin.
Yeah,
It's so
they're
fun.
non-existent. It's like eating paper with dough on it.
Yeah,
It's-
it really is.
You don't need all of the fluff and stuff. A nice little crepe with just a little
The Gloucester
sauce.
fisherman. The Gloucester fisherman
Gloucester?
says, huh?
The Gloucester fisherman.
No, the Gloucester fisherman
Yes.
What did the Gloucester fisherman say?
says.
Is
See,
this
this
a
is no. It says on the thing. It says, "Men that go down to the sea in ships shall know the works of the Lord." So why hasn't anybody complained about that? Having a Bible verse on a public statue like that.
I don't know. I heard the Gorton's fisherman is Muslim. Is that true?
I heard that. I thought the Gort were taken over by the Moonies.
Probably.
I think
You're
it was
right.
the Moonies.
I remember that. I remember seeing that in the
Remember
news.
a long time ago? I don't know
Yeah.
if they still. Do you think of stopping immigration of Moonies?
I'd actually be
Crack
okay
yourself
with that.
up.
I do. I'm wicked bad. So what other
They're actually lunar Americans, by the way, if you want to
Lunar-
be politically correct.
yeah, lunar Americans?
Americans, yes.
Yeah, I like that. That's much nicer.
Yes.
So what else is going on? What other issues people hit you up with as you go around this state?
Those are, honestly, we covered the main ones.
The
about
economy, the Second Amendment.
the
Second Amendment people still talking about though, right?
You know, not as much as I thought they would.
Really?
Yes.
Because
Yes.
that's like all that's in the news in the last few days.
Well, it
Yeah.
is, but the dialogue has gone back to the whole problem of the immigration and checking out people coming into this country and gotten off of the whole guns and the Second Amendment issue because maybe it is because of California's strict gun laws and the fact that they didn't do anything to stop that.
I remember too, Gary, once before it came up on the show, we were talking about that in New Hampshire, there might be, complacency is not the right word, but because our gun laws here are pretty lenient, that maybe people don't focus on it as much because they feel like there's not as much need to.
they do a pretty good job of making sure they only elect legislators that are going to support the Second Amendment.
Right,
There's
right.
some good lobbying groups, or I wouldn't even say lobbying groups. I would just say some good groups out there who
Yeah.
are very adamant about protecting that.
Yeah, well, there's
Yeah.
some crappy ones too.
Well, I
Firearm New Hampshire
Do you know
Firearms
what?
Coalition,
I-
NHFC is horrible.
I think of the positive things.
I don't.
Positive
I am
energy,
positive
Gary.
they're
Positive
horrible.
energy. Feel it.
NHFC. I think it was John Burt when his first term. He said he was thinking about doing some gun bill. I said no. I says don't do it. NHFC will attack you if you don't do it exactly like they say, and if you do it exactly like they say, then Go New Hampshire will be upset with you because you didn't check with them. And
Yeah, because isn't one of them like just
They're
really,
difficult.
really extreme? Like
oh,
it's all or
NHFC is
nothing?
extreme.
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't use the word extreme.
Yeah,
but
but
let's
you
just
wouldn't.
say I remember working
do.
when I was deputy speaker working on a gun bill, and I think we were all the way to committee conference on it. I want to say it was like SB 116. I could be totally wrong.
Yeah.
Just picked a wrong number out of my head. And I remember working on it, and committee conferences where the bill has passed the House and passed the Senate, but different versions. And so you have to get together with some key people, and then basically like 4 people in a room decide, okay, what is going to be the final language
Are
of
we
this
going to
bill?
agree or disagree?
Right. Are we going to agree or disagree? What do we need to change in here to get you and to get both the House and the Senate to sign off on it? That's what committee conference does. And I remember just had like 4 people in my office saying, no, we got to have this and that, couldn't have that. And in the end, it didn't get signed off on. And it went away
Same
because we
thing.
couldn't agree on it.
No, I had Dave Wheeler and the NHFC attack me. Remember Jen Coffey's switchblade bill?
Yes.
Okay.
And she got that all the way through.
Right, she got that all the way through. I introduced something quite similar to that in probably 2003. And my bill was simple. It just said, and I checked with Go New Hampshire before I introduced it because I figured they're the main gun group. I says, this is what I want to do. I just want to, right now, the bill says you can't, the law says you can't have a switchblade, a slingshot, which I had to find out what that was, and a brass knuckles.
What is a slingshot? It's not a slingshot.
No, it's like ball bearings or hard rocks or something in a sack that you use to slam people in the head if you wanted.
Wow.
Like it could be in a sock or something like that.
That's like an actual weapon people made. I
Correct.
thought those were just things they used in prisons.
No, it is not.
Wow.
It's not a slingshot, which is what I thought.
slingshot,
And a
wow.
slingshot is different. Slung like as in. Mm-hmm. And so anyway, I don't know why that means that.
Is that? I didn't know you knew sign
How,
language.
how does it? Yeah. How does it work, Gary? Can you
Like
show us
this,
again?
like
That's a slingshot.
Slingshot.
So what, what's
That's
it? So a
that's the
bag of
international
rocks. A bag of
symbol.
rocks would be a slingshot.
In a sock would
In
be
a sock
sling-
is a slingshot.
would be a slingshot. So
Okay.
all my bill did was
Do you have to have a permit
you can't have it.
in New Hampshire?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
Okay, so
So if my kid puts rocks in its sock,
and yes, that would be illegal. So my bill said, because at the end of that list, it says, with the exception of police officers, I think. It's actually in the fish and game bills. And, crap, now I remember what I was going to ask you. But I'm in the middle of something, so I can't.
we'll go back to talking about slingshots.
So anyway, my bill, all it did was say, or a person with a permit to carry, whatever we call it. Okay, so in other words, the exception to it, if you already got a permit to carry a concealed weapon, you can also have a switchblade or whatever. That's all it did. Oh man, NHFC, they instead of calling me up before I even introduced the bill and saying, hey Gary, we don't like this because of this, we might want to work on the wording once it gets to committee and talk to me. Nope, they did not do that. They attacked me. They sent mail to every single legislator and said Gary Hopper is anti-gun and
Wow.
it was insane.
Yeah.
So I
Wow.
was like, really? I just thought this was kind of a cool idea, and they just torched me. So I have not had, and they did something else a few years after that. What else? After that, we the year before you and I were
Reelected?
no, before O'Brien. You weren't in those 2 years too.
I was
that was your first term.
I started I got elected in 2008. Yeah,
yeah.
I've been up there 7 years.
Right.
4
So that
terms.
was your first term. In that
Yes.
term, we had a bill in Fish and Game Committee, because that's the committee I was in then, is democratically controlled.
Yes.
And it was a bill about electronic muzzleloaders, because there's an electronic switch they're using instead of regular trigger. And they wanted to update the laws. While it was being updated, Dave Wheeler called me up and said, how about an amendment to eliminate all restrictions on firearms inside of a vehicle? And I understood where he's going. If you got the Second Amendment, why I'm exempt from that all of a sudden once I am in my car? That doesn't make any sense. And it's an archaic law that was trying to prevent people from driving along and doing the hillbilly thing of shooting deer outside the window. And so I thought about it, and I understood where he was going. And I said, well, I'll compromise. And this might even get through, but we can redefine a loaded weapon as a weapon with a round in the chamber, so that if you
I
have
remember that we with something like
yeah,
this.
you
yeah,
were on board with this.
Yeah.
And I said that way, if it's you
in
have
the chamber.
in the chamber, it would be
Yes.
a loaded weapon and illegal to have in your vehicle.
Right.
So it can't accidentally go off.
Right, but if it's you just have the clip,
If you have the clip in there
And it's-
and somebody attacks you and you have to pull out your shotgun or your rifle, you can rack one into the chamber and use it for
right,
self-defense.
it is not loaded.
It's not loaded until
No.
there's a round in the chamber. They actually sent mailing out to the people in Ware saying I was anti-gun because I didn't do exactly what they told me. I compromised. I gave them exactly what they wanted, technically, or practically, I should say.
Yeah.
But I didn't do it exactly the way they said, so I was anti-gun.
Did they call you a rhino? Did they use that
And I
term?
didn't say rhino yet.
Oh.
That was until the next
no
term.
name calling.
Oh, the other thing, if when you get up there, because I love you and I want you to do well, what I would love to see is the United States Congress to stop blackmailing the state of New Hampshire every time they want us to do something.
Such as
Such as first term in the
first
fishing
in the
game.
nation.
First term, they had a bill. A bill was introduced to fishing games saying that that the Social Security number has to be on everybody's fishing license. We asked, well, why is that? The federal government is going to withhold money to the fishing game department unless it is. I think all those things that the federal government does, that it says you can have money for Project A if you do A, B, C, and D.
Yes.
They should either give us the money for Project A, B, C, and D, with cut the strings.
Well, that goes with a lot of things, and not just fish and game. When,
No,
when
I
you
know
think
it's
about
not
the
fish.
education
Everything.
grants we
It's
get,
everything.
yes, it is.
It's all encompassing.
How does-
It's a way of the
I
federal
agree.
government controlling New Hampshire.
Exactly, and what we need to do is cut some of the strings. If the federal government is going to give us some funding for, let's just take education,
Right.
for instance, how does someone up in D.C., some bureaucrat, know how it's best spent in New Hampshire?
Right.
The people who know how it's best spent, you know what, is your local school board and who is elected by you.
Right.
That's the best way to get it down to the farthest level down. If they know how to spend the money, they know where it needs to go. They know what students need the money, not someone up in D.C. We've got to stop that. We've got to stop all of the strings that are attached to all the funding that comes to the state and every state.
Yeah, either don't send it there, the money there to begin with, which is to me the best choice, because then
Right.
the money stays here, or don't have any strings. I don't know if
Yes.
you could do some sort of resolution that
That's just added regulation on the
it
part
is.
of the
That's
federal
all
government.
it
And
is.
it's unnecessary.
It's control. That's
Yeah.
all it
Yep.
is.
But it's hard to get, the federal government to give up power. So how do you? I mean, even if you're voting with people who agree with you, if you're surrounded by people who agree with you, to get them to vote with you, even if they're Republicans,
Yeah, it's not always easy.
that's a tough
again,
a tough sell.
It is.
No
well,
one wants to give up power.
No one does. But it is about building the coalitions and reducing regulations,
Yeah.
because you have to at this point. We know that our federal government needs to be trimmed down in terms
Federal
of.
government's just strangling the hell out of everything.
It is, and everyone knows that. And so if we start there and we start taking these baby steps and not the broad sweeps, it got to the point that it is by baby steps. So we've got to start taking those steps backwards.
That's actually one other reason why I really hope you win, is because you understand that most Republicans, and they want to go to D.C. and change everything immediately,
It doesn't
and it
happen.
just doesn't work that way, and they're just frustrated and leave after a year or so.
Well, that's the advantages of being in the legislature up here, of having the experience, and that's another reason that sets me apart. I have the experience.
Yep, you do, and I really wish you luck. And we'll have to have you on again, and this time I'll write down my questions. I have a whole bunch of them, and then I come in here and
What about a rubber band? If you put like a rubber band around your head to hold.
I'll bring
hold
the
stuff
duct
in.
tape next time so we
Okay.
can keep
No,
it
well,
all in.
Steve actually found a rubber band.
Oh,
Steve, yeah, he had. He said.
doesn't matter now. It's the end of the show.
No, well, Steve said it was on his Facebook that, if somebody had a stack of $20 bills with a rubber band around it, well, I found the rubber band if you want it back. So I don't know what that's all about, but that's pretty good.
Ah,
Pretty nice, pretty honest of him to
Yes.
return
yes.
the rubber band like
yeah,
that.
that is.
He could have just kept it, really.
That's true.
you
That's
know?
true.
So he's a pretty honest guy. Pam, thank you very much.
Thank you
We'll
so
have
much,
you on
Pam.
again when I'll
Gary.
try to be more organized.
That's all right. We
And-
had
and
fun.
it's Gloucester. Gloucester.
Gloucester.
No, it's not
Gloucester.
Gloucester.
It's not Gloucester,
No,
right?
it's not
Gloucester.
Gloucester.
Worcester.
No.
Worcester,
no.
yeah. Worcestershire.
Peabody. We can go through the whole list of names. It's fun.
Probably shouldn't. Bye, everybody.
There were some good ones. Concord.